That's good though.
All right. Welcome everyone to episode 2 of the Wake Up Call, where I am joined by Dale Crowe today, and we'll be going into his transformation in prison, from prison to freedom and inner transformation. Dale Crowe, how's it going, man? Welcome to the podcast.
Good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thank you for joining us today. So today we'll be going into your inner transformation that you've had, going from prison into prison and coming out of prison, because I met you when you came out of prison. But I had heard about you while you were in prison from David when you were writing to David.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I thought we could start off by just looking at how your life was before prison, leading up into the transformation that you had within prison.
Sure. Okay. So I was a professional fighter, boxer, and I was up and coming, and someone was paralyzed in a fight in 2001 from the neck down. So in our match together, I took that kind of hard afterwards, and I got depressed. I didn't want to fight anymore. I got involved in drinking, drugs, alcohol. I'm sorry, drinking and drugs, and fighting, collecting money, stuff like that. And I went down the wrong path. And on that path, I got into a fight, and someone's life was taken, and I went to prison for 20 years. Um, that was pretty much my life before prison. So I went in there, and then I spent my first few years really struggling, trying to adjust, and I just started, really searching because I dealt with a lot of agony and stuff over what I'd done to get there, and depression, stuff like that, and I couldn't get off the path that I was on, and I started reading these books, these of all things, is a spiritual path. I'm reading. This is where my mind was at the time. I'm reading Playboy magazine, right? And I see, and there's this article in there on Deepak Chopra, and it says the Lao Tzu of modern times. So I'm like, Lao Tzu, I'm like, who is that? So I read this magazine, and I became interested in that type of belief system. It says that he was a Course in Miracles teacher, right? So I got into it, and I like Deepak, who got into stuff, but his teachings weren't really reaching me to where I needed to be reached. Got into other books, stuff like that coming in, and I was a magazine prescription subscription called Light of Consciousness. And in that magazine, I read an article by David Hoffmeister. I never heard of him, never knew nothing about him, but the article reached me where I needed to be reached. It was about his dad, and in my story, my dad, in my parable, my dad and me had a rough past. And the way David spoke about his father and him, it really reached me. And I said, I gotta read this guy's stuff, And so I ordered all of his books, all of them. When I read through them, I couldn't get enough of them. And because the way he spoke to me, it just reached my heart. It really did. And I got this Course in Miracles. I started reading through it, and I can understand it now because David taught me how to understand it. I'll be honest with you. The first time I went through the course, this was after I heard about it through Deepak. And I did it. I mean, it's a good teacher and stuff like that. But I read through the first 365 lessons, and I didn't understand a word of it. I didn't. I mean, but I took it anyway. It told me something inside me told me this is true. So I kept going. When I reached David Hoffmeister, like I understood it suddenly, and I dove into it and I read it every day, and I immersed myself into it. And I had some experiences in there in prison. I had some meditation experiences to where, I started seeing people as reflections of myself. And I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. And so I was like, talking to people about it. So you need to see mental health. People were telling me I needed help. There's something wrong with me, this Course of Miracles stuff I'm talking, and no one understood me. So I wrote David Hoffmeister. I looked in the back of his book and I seen the address of his ministry, and I wrote the ministry. I didn't think I was going to get an answer back. But then all of a sudden, one day, it was right around Christmas time in 2017. I got a call up to the booth where we collect mail at. It was mail call, and they said, "Dale Crowe, come to the front." And man, they had a bag of mail for me, a bag, for an inmate. It's a bag of mail because David shared that letter over a Christmas retreat amongst the whole ministry, and everybody started writing me, and I was just amazed. Man, I felt that my heart was just, oh, hell, it was great. It was the greatest feeling ever. But and so I got that, I got to, writing letters back and forth with the people that wrote me, and I became a part of the ministry. He sent some people in to meet me, and from there we got a ministry going. I have a good friend named Jeffrey Kosker. I call him JC, the big JC. So me and him, we came together, and we started a prison ministry together. It's called Last Step Ministry. I'm sorry. And today that ministry is spread over 1.5 or 1.7 million tablets across the United States in prison system. So, it's reaching people, and it's an amazing journey. It really is, and I'm getting ready Sunday to leave to go out to the monastery, to
Oh,
Living
yes.
Miracle. I'll be going out there for some months, so possibly longer. I don't know. I don't know where it's going yet, but I'm excited to meet everyone in person.
So
And that's pretty much it.
on the surface level, everyone would say going to prison is a bad experience, when it's judged by the ego. But all I see from it is Jesus was using it to transform your mind, lead because it's led to this where we are right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't recommend prison for anybody, but should you go there, I mean, it's 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 tailor made for things like this because you have three hots and a cot, no matter what. You don't have to work if you don't want to. But I don't recommend it for anybody. Like I said, it can be a treacherous life in there, and the best thing to do, I would say, is, get involved in with God somehow, whatever that path may look like. I'm not saying Course in Miracles is the only way because it's not, but there's many paths that lead to the ocean. And I think that for me, A Course in Miracles was tailor made for me, and that's what spoke to me, and that's what gave me all my experiences.
So, what were some of the things that you had to look at while you were in prison? Because a lot of the boys here are in the same situation, they're like at that beginning stage of their journey and just trying to help them just like find that entry point and to like go deeper and deeper into this.
So I'm sorry, you're asking me what was some of
Yeah, what was like
the
some of the things that you like really had to look at while you were in prison when you found the course, when you found Jesus?
that's what I was just telling someone who's incarcerated right now is you get out, he's done 47 years, he's still in there, and he's going up for parole again. And I told him, when you get out, this is what happened with me. Is I did all the spirituality. I overcame my criminalistic mind and my thinking. I thought that I had it made. I thought I had it whooped. And I walked out here and I wasn't ready for what the world showed me. It threw at me. It's just 20 years of changes. Last time I saw it, it was a totally different world. It's like I'm on the moon. I mean, what I mean? Like, it really is. So I would tell him to work on what developed this character that's brought us to where we're at, like the mask, what developed that. The
The bully within.
Yeah, it's because it's a mask, it's just it's a
Yeah,
facade.
yeah.
Everybody's walking around in a facade, but nobody wants to undress themselves. And that's what my thing was, is still facing the insecurity that I always had, the low self-esteem, the no self-worth, no confidence, things like that. Because when I walked out to the world, it smacked me in the face, and it made me look at all that and face all that. So, and I had a hard time at first. It affected my relationships, and really my relationship, I should say. But, friends too, though, it's just, you got to look at that stuff because if you don't do the inner work on yourself, you're going to trip up and fall. Like it's just, it's hard. Don't matter how much time you're doing in prison. Like time is time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point because when we're going through the world, we're not used to being vulnerable. We're not used to looking at all the stuff that's going on within the mind and within the emotions. And like being in prison and having to look at that, authentically look at that, to actually look at the bully within. Because Dale Crowe has a book called The Bully Within, and that's the book that we've been sharing around here in New Zealand with the inmates and all the gang members. And they're having this really good opportunity to actually be like, yeah, actually, there is a bully within. I've been used to seeing the bully without, and I've had all this trauma from my life building up to this point. And now, thanks to Dale, we get to actually see that there is this bully within that we need to get in touch with, the mask, so that we can overcome the mask.
Because it's ultimately it's reflecting everything that's inside of you. Like that bully's not just out there, but it's by chance. It's a reflection of what's in you, and that's what you got to deal with. And that's what I learned in there. And but I couldn't speak it to anybody because it sounds crazy. You know what I mean? It's everybody looks at you like, yeah, okay. We'll talk to you later. Give us a call sometime when you come back to Earth. That's what
And
you
send you
feel
to
like,
a psych ward.
Yeah, yeah, or a psych ward. Yeah, exactly. But it's good though, But now today, toward the end there, people started coming to me. The same people that were calling me, crazy. I started classes and facilitating in the prison, and people started listening, and that's what started it. Started what today is the Last Step Ministry. It's really blossomed out though. It's because of Jeffrey and them. It's blossomed into Ohio, Florida, California, Reno, all kinds of different prisons though, and it spans across the United States, and that's amazing.
Wow. So you're actually using your transformation to help others as well over there in the US.
I'm trying to, like I said, everybody's got their time, and not everybody's ready to hear anything like that, you know what I mean? But for the ones that are, it's just a cycle, can't tell you how many people I've seen return over and over and over again in prison. I said, you're doing the installment plan of 20 years, because they'll do 2 years here, 4 years there, 6 years there. I mean, it's before they're done, after their fifth or sixth time going to prison, they got 20 something years in. Just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, if I can help just one person turn around and change themselves, and look at what's going on inside them, then then I feel like I already won. I already won, but I feel like I'm in purpose then, and purpose is all that's important to me. It really is. I gotta have a purpose. And the
Yeah.
only purpose is forgiveness, and turns out is I needed most to forgive myself because I really struggled hard long time with that. And my life has reflected that pain all the time.
Would you like to go more into that?
Well, it's just reflected the unforgiveness that I have on myself, through the people I've met, the situations I found myself in, the life that I lived. It's always been some type of everything I've done has been designed to win other people's approval. Everything, boxing, all that stuff. It's just designed to prop up the mask. You know what I mean? And that's all I ever wanted was attention. That's the only thing that got me. I never loved boxing. Yeah, I didn't. I hated it. What I loved was the attention it brought me. And that's what you learn, like what built the character that brought you to prison? What made this mask? Like if you're a dope dealer, why did you do it? Because it's usually all designed around attention or to win the approval of other people. That's really all it's about. But you got to really face that and admit it.
Yeah, that's a really good point because, as you said, now your purpose is forgiveness. Your purpose is looking upon the mask and seeing it as false, where before, the mind is stuck in the ego's purpose of validation and attention.
Validation is always to be liked, accepted, validated, or approved of. Everything. That's all the mask is about. You know what I mean? It's just people pleasing. That's all it is. And it's sad when you really look at it, anybody's life, if you really look at it like why you do what you do, what is it for? The course says that I like to ask, what is it for? It's always to prop up that mask. It's always to perpetuate the false self, the personality self, And that's all we're ever doing. And I just reached a point in prison where I saw that clearly, and I saw what made my that construct, Dale Crowe, and why I had the time. See, I served a different type of bit. They call it a bit during your time. I served a different type of bit though. I served, when I was in there, everybody, all I've ever been used to is people caring about my boxing. That's all they
Yep.
cared about. If I didn't box, I would Dale Crowe wouldn't be nothing. It wouldn't be. I'm still nothing. You know what I mean? But like, all anyone ever had an interest in was Dale Crowe. And I said, it got to a point in my career in boxing where I said, if I'm not Dale the boxer, who am I? Who am I?
Mm,
Like.
true.
And that's ultimately the question that brought me to prison. I mean, because it didn't bring me to prison, like the outcome of that question brought me to prison because I made some mistakes. The path I chose to answer who am I, brought me to prison, and that's, it's scary, it's fearful because like if you don't know who you are without that, who am I without the mask, like you'll do anything out there to grab onto something to perpetuate it. And ultimately that's what I was doing with the drugs and the dealing, the collecting, and then ultimately the death of a friend of mine.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point that you touched on because, you know, most of that is unconscious. Like the mind has to really be open to looking at that in order to, awaken to being able to observe that. Because when we're going about the world's way of doing stuff, that's like sitting at the very bottom of the unconscious mind there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I agree.
how has your experience been after the transformation?
Oh, well, it's been amazing. I mean, I have the life that I asked for in prison. I came out but it's not about them things, you know what I mean? But I can't say that it's a slippery slope, man. Once you're on that path, a spiritual path, and then the world gets you. The world's just a big distraction. It really is. It's a big distraction, and it pulls you away from your practice. It does. And I ain't gonna lie to you, after 2 decades being locked up, it did. It pulled me out of my practice a little bit. I still have my beliefs because they're not beliefs, they're experiences. I can't let go of that, but I did let some things, overcome me a little bit, and I had some struggles. But I still, I never slipped bad enough to violate. I got out and I'm off parole in my first year. I was supposed to be on parole for 5 years, but they let
Oh,
me off
really?
within
Okay. Yeah.
they let me off within the first year. And so I mean I pretty much walked the line, but yeah, like I said, I made mistakes. And everybody's gonna make mistakes. I don't care who it is, but coming out of there, it's really hard to no matter how much time you do too. It's like I said, time is time, and when you go into a place like that, it's maddening. It really is inside there, you know.
Yeah. Because the only thing you can really do is look at your mind and be with yourself.
You gotta sit with yourself, and that's the hardest thing is once you start, it helped me because I had the place where I sit still and face all the stuff that was inside me. And that's when I started to see, well, wait a minute, everybody's a reflection of just myself. Because literally, like my circle in there was literally me. They were literally aspects of myself, versions of Dale Crowe.
Yep.
And I started seeing that, and I was like, man, who can I was telling everybody that there never was a Dale Crowe. Because there wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, and when you start
Yep.
seeing things like that, you want to tell somebody about it, and my ego jumped on another train. So, I'll write a book about it, and I did. I wrote about my life story, and I wrote, all my events and stuff like that. And I think what I wanted was approval again I wanted people to validate me as a newly spiritual self because I've changed, and like I'm not a killer no more. That's what I kept getting recognized for, and I didn't want that anymore.
Yeah, that's great because the Bible, in the Bible it says you are a new creation when you open up to the experience of Christ, and that's what we are really opening to is leaving the past behind and just really coming into this experience of meeting myself and meeting everyone in the world anew, and I
The
feel like that's been
renewal of
your experience as well, like having just this whole inner transformation that you can't relate to people anymore when they come up to you and they're like, "Yo, Dale Crowe, the past," because you're this brand new creation and spirit.
and again, like if when they don't see that, you got to bring it back to yourself because you don't see that. I don't see the new me. If they see keep reminding me of the old me, because because I'm doing it to myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, what would you say to someone who's just gone into prison, and this could apply to like yourself as well? How would you speak to yourself, or what message would you say to them, to those here that have just gone into prison, looking for that same inner transformation?
Stay to yourself because everybody wants to click up in gangs and crowds in there, and it's usually the wrong type of people for you. So I would tell them to get to yourself and work on it. Look at you. Look what brought me to prison. One of these groups I was in was called the Horizon. I got a lot of transformation from that group, but one of the first of the three rules was face what brought you to prison. You sit in these groups, and you talk about it, your crime. And it was hard, man, because it took me a long time before I could really openly talk about what I'd done.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you share it amongst a group of like 8 to 12 people, and like you guys eventually become like family, and you share everything together, and it was really helpful for me though. But I would tell them to sit down and really, journal, face what brought you to prison, stuff like that, and get some type of spirituality, get what works for you, find what works for you. For me, I'm going to recommend the ACIM, of course, but that's what I'm going to say because it did work for me. It works for everybody
yeah.
that I've encountered. So,
Stick with God. Stick with God. Don't run from yourself.
right, I mean, face it, I mean, and really dive into your practice because otherwise you're just going to, it's going to be a continual cycle coming in and out of prison all your life. That's all I've seen in there. It's people coming back. It's like I did all them years with the same people because I'm telling you, they just kept
True.
coming back. Everybody I would speak to would ultimately return. That or you got the sad cases where guys were never going home. I met some really good people like that. They've been down 40 and 50 years and they're never going home. And it's sad, man, because that could have easily been me, but I got some other purpose. I got another
That's what I
purpose
love
that
about you, Dale, is like, I connected with you when you came out of prison on social media, and you've just been shining and extending, and you're being this demonstration for like everyone else to like join in that same purpose, and that's what I love, that's why I wanted to have you on here and be like, yo, this can help everyone. This can help the entire universe to whoever's gonna see this.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I do. So what part of New Zealand is this?
I'm in the North Island. The ministry who does the gang rehabilitation and prison ministry, that's mainly based in the South Island, but they travel up north and they travel around as well. So I end up linking in and connecting with those guys when they come around.
Oh, okay. I've been to Auckland. I've been to
Oh,
Auckland. I
yeah,
fought.
yeah, because I someone was telling me that you've been to Auckland. I think you did a fight here, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a fight there.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Beautiful over there.
Would love to have you back sometime.
Absolutely. Absolutely come over there.
This time in a different purpose.
That's right. A different purpose. No fighting. No fighting. Uh, it's, that's good stuff.
Is
But
there
yeah,
anything else? Yeah.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no. Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, I mean if I could tell somebody it's an inner journey, and that's what you got to focus on is you. Somebody's telling you the wrong things because you're telling yourself the wrong things. It's not nobody else's fault. They're just a reflection. You know what I mean? So if they can grasp that, you know, you eventually experience that, and then you see that's what it is, and then you can just take some of the arguments on the chin, because it's yourself. You just got to fix it in you.
Yeah, and when you clean the mirror, you notice that your state of mind and your state of being is just emanating with the fruits of the spirit more consistently. And that's how you can tell that it's working, like that inner transformation is really living within you.
Right. I mean, and the only thing you're dealing with is yourself. The only enemy is the one in me. And that's the truth. It'll manifest in many different ways, but that's right here all the time.
The inner bully projects it outwards, but when we start to
Yep.
look at it, it seems to disappear.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's it, exactly.
So if people want to contact you about more of this information and more about, the practical application, where can they find you? Dale Crowe on Facebook?
On Facebook or I have an email.
Yep,
They can
sure.
email me on that. Dale Crowe 1998 at gmail.com. I'm always open for questions.
And you also have a Facebook group too for those that are interested, which is called
Crow's Corner.
Crow's Corner Applying ACIM. That's great. And so for those of you that want to connect with Dale, you can connect with Dale online. Or you can write to me and I'll put you in contact with Dale because Dale will be going to Utah, off to Utah in a couple of days.
I'll be there Sunday morning.
And you'll be there for a
Sunday.
few months, so you'll have a lot of space just to connect with anyone wanting to join deeper in
Yes.
this purpose.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining me, Dale. It's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm glad that we got to finally meet and go deeper into this journey.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I will see you on episode 3.
All right. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you so much, Dale.
Thank you. Take care.